Hi, and welcome to NDK's Tarot. Today we're going to talk about reading with the RWS style, but not reading with RWS clones. Can you learn to read Rider-Waite-Smith style tarot without learning to read on a clone of a Rider-Waite-Smith deck? And it's not the easiest path to take, but it absolutely is a path you can take, and it's a path I took. If you're not relating to those images, if they're not speaking to you, maybe you found some you liked in the color palette and it's still not speaking to you, then it's not going to be easier for you to read with a Rider-Waite clone if you're not relating to those images. And the beginning work, I'm going to say, is going to be a little bit more, but I think, a year or two down the line, you're going to be at the same space or further ahead than those who started with a Rider-Waite clone. So, what is a Rider-Waite-Smith clone? A Rider-Waite-Smith clone is, I don't have one, a deck where the images are look like that's not a good example. Look like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and this is similar, or really similar to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and you know what that card is. And a clone is going to have these same symbols and images in that deck, and so as you read through a tarot study book, you learn all the symbols within the image, and you learn to read that image and description. This is close. And so you're looking at the card and you know, oh, okay, so that is the Hanged Man, and I know what that symbol is. I know why his legs are in that shape, why his hair is hanging. I know about the rope around his foot. There's usually like two wands or large sticks, but we believe there is two trees that come out of frame based on the branches coming in over top. So, that's what a clone would be. A deck that is not a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, but would be based on the understandings of each Rider-Waite card with completely new imagery, would be both Mari and the Sky's Gentle Tarot and my Land Back Tarot. So this is the Six of Wands. So which decks am I going to say are a good non-RWS clone to learn to read RWS tarot from? One where you relate to the images and has a guidebook, but that guidebook, it doesn't need to be big, folks. Okay, so mine is really got about the same amount of information as a Gentle Tarot. I just have per card it does. I just have bigger pictures and words. But if you need like a whole big book like the Robin Wood Tarot to tell you this deck's entire story, this deck's entire symbolism, and this deck's card meaning, you're not learning to read the Rider-Waite-Smith system. You're learning to read that deck's singular system. So that would be a really difficult example, or a difficult non-Rider-Waite-Smith deck to learn Rider-Waite-Smith tarot off of. Like I said, my deck has non-Rider-Waite-Smith images, and some of them, but they are based on those ideas, and they just have a different story to go with them. So my deck tells you this is what the story is in this deck. There's children who are practicing and learning how to drum so that they can become masters of this craft, of this art form. And they understand what that is. So that's similar to the meaning of the Rider-Waite-Smith 8 of Pence. And so you just need to know, like, what is this talking about? Oh, it's talking about the same thing as that. So if you're using a non-Rider-Waite-Smith deck to learn to read tarot in that system, you do want a guidebook. You don't want a guidebook. You want a tarot book, a book that talks to you about tarot. And you probably want, this one is Queering the Tarot. I think this is a good guidebook to use if you're reading for other people, not a guidebook, a tarot study book, or a book about how to read tarot is good if you're reading for other people, if you are queer yourself. And frankly, I think the understandings in it are very useful for marginalized people in general. You want a book that is talking to you about what does this card mean without describing to you, oh, there's a gray sky and so it means this in the picture. This person has yellow hair, so it means this in the picture. Learning all those symbols isn't going to help you. You do want to learn the numerology. You do want to learn the elements, because those are fundamentally within tarot. It's based on different suits, based on elements, spirit, fire, earth, water, and air, and it's based on numbers. And the pattern of the tarot follows a system based on those numbers. And so you do want to be able to learn those things. You want your attention called to those things in a good book to study tarot from. And while a book that gets into all the symbolism of a Rider-Waite-Smith deck is great if that's the system you're learning from, if you're not learning a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, then you want something that talks about the overall arching meaning of the card. And you want to take in that overall arching meaning of the card and think about what it can mean in different scenarios. And this is where you start to develop a benefit, because you start to look at all different ways of seeing, the same card. I put a deck somewhere and I don't know where I put it. Very strange. Ah, there it is. So what we're going to do next is pretend we're asking some questions and work with what we know about the cards and the images that it's giving us to work with. So let's say, what's my job situation? And we're going to look at just simply a past, present, and a future. And we're going to look at this through a couple different decks, okay, to see where we're working with these different images. Okay. The same card came up using two different decks, so hang on. Okay, so we're starting to get a picture here. I'll show it to everyone in a minute. We're using Landback Tarot, the Gentle Tarot, and Star Spinner this time. So we have an overall picture going on here, where we have an 8, strength, the major spirit, 9, swords, air, and then we have 7 of Wands action. Okay, and so we see that the job situation, your spirit is strong. It feels the difficulty and that you are in and you are going through, but you are standing really quietly strong. You're holding your ground. Okay, so we can see that she's holding ground in a really difficult struggle. In a traditional card, a person who looks fairly feminine is taming a lion or holding on to the lion's jaws or petting the lion, showing us that they are using their inner strength. We don't pull out our inner strength in easy situations. So we see that is a difficult situation. So we see a person in a difficult situation, they're holding their ground with quiet inner strength. And so that's where this person is at in their job search situation. That's where their spirit is at. And then, we see the Nine of Thunder. So we know that in a traditional card, this is where you're injured and in a traditional Nine of Swords, this is where there's all these swords hanging over your head. You're up in your head, you're worried, you're concerned, you're anxious, and that your nightmares are going to breach the horizon. And so, we see somebody looking up at the moon. They're looking up beyond the horizon, and they're worried and concerned. And we can see it in the imagery. We see the same feeling in the imagery here. And they're looking for answers. They're looking up to the moon for answers because they're anxious and they're up in their head. So, this makes sense with, needing to feel strong and hold your ground, because there's a lot going up in your head. There's a lot of worries that you're managing, but your spirit's holding on to it, even though, up in your head, things are really difficult. And so we were able, in this instance, to pull the feeling in that energy and emotion out of the RWS meaning into this card and see it. And we can look beyond it too. We can see them looking up the moon, and we can see that either they are being deceived looking up at the moon, because it can be a symbol of deception and unknown. We can see that maybe they're looking up at the moon because they don't know what's going on, or they're looking at the moon, reaching out, to the moon for answers. They're desperate for answers. And so this one's a little bit closer to imagery we would expect to see. And we have the Seven of Wands. And so we're in the suit of action. And an action that is needed to be taken is, to get back up and to get out there and, be ready to tackle, another round of this, to take on another round. And knowing that you're going to get through it just like you did get through the other ones. In this one, again, this one was easier to see the RWS meanings. But we can see that they have battled their way uphill and they feel confident, and we see by all these wands behind them, they look like they're standing up there so confident, but we know they've probably are worn out from all these other wands that they have they have come across and defeated. And, so we're taking different images and ideas out of the cards. So let's say that we're going to work with easy and basic stuff here, people. And I want to do that so that we have set things, because sometimes one of the things we get stuck in is oh, I got the Three of Swords for what am I happy about. And so, you know, it's good to think outside of those boxes too. So we're going to do a relationship question. Alright, we're going to pull 3 cards. We've got Mystic Garbage. We've got the Muse Tarot. Whoa. And what should we use as the other ones? Let's use my Landback Tarot again in this. So this is somebody who wants to know how things are going on in their relationship life, right? And so we have the Tenpence, and you know, this is really different. Tenpence is where you've reached like a level of success that includes a recognition of that success. A reputation comes with it. And we know that because we usually see somebody, a man, sitting with, you know, his descendants around a great table or in his home or whatever. So here this person has come from the bottom up, we can see by a garbage can, and has become a painter. And since it's the Ten of Pence, we can see they've reached a point of recognition and reputation for their artwork. But we're talking about how is this person's romantic life doing. So, you know, this could really play in. Their romantic life could be impacted by the fact that they're wrapped up in getting to this place of success and recognition in their work. Right, and then next we have the 8 of Inspiration, and we often see wands or arrows or something coming, a bunch of wands or spears all coming in and rushing through. But in this one we have somebody, you know, they're just moving forward and nothing's stopping them, even this elasticy, stretchy band-like thing. They're just stomping forward, you know, not being slowed down. And so, you know, we can say, well, you're really wrapped up in the success and reputation of your job, so you really need to put some action into this love life and start, like, putting that same amount of work and energy, and I'm gonna, like, plow through to the end successfully into that. And then we have the 6 of Cups. Well, in the 6 of Cups, we're often told, we often see images of children in a yard or a garden, and we're told to think about nostalgia and looking back. So we have a really different image here, but we can see a sense of nostalgia and looking back to when things are better, when things weren't polluted yet, when they weren't complicated with all these other things that came from work projects. And so then we can see that, you know, if this person looks back, they can see that their relationship life was better when it was a little less polluted with work projects. And so there's an imbalance going on there. And so if we have a tarot study book or a tarot book to learn from that talks to us about the understanding of the card, we're able to find that understanding in other decks, especially if the deck's guidebook, you know, is like this. It's short and fat. Mine's tall and skinny. You know, if we're not learning an entire new system, if they just need a half page or a couple mini pages, or even like a bit of a mini page, like in Mystic Garbage or Star Spinner, we got about a mini page. if this is all they need to convey to us how this relates to the Rider-Waite-Smith system, then we're probably going to be able to translate this deck really easily into the understanding of what's behind the Rider-Waite-Smith cards. And one of the things you're going to need to do is marry what is my understanding of the overall meaning of this card, what am I seeing in this picture, and what is the story in this card. And my tarot study buddy and I, sometimes I say, so stop, put down the guidebook. My study buddy is a lover of the guidebook. I'm like, stop, put down the guidebook. Tell me what you see in the card. Tell me what you see in the card. What do you see? Start pulling out what you see. And, so we see a whole bunch of pinpoints focused on this person, but they, are rested up against a pine tree, so a tree of life in my understandings. But they're rested up, whatever the tree is, against an old life source. And are taking a moment to connect while they have the stress of all these pointers on them, everything pointed at them. And so, that's going to take the image a little different. So I'm going to say, oh, so maybe, these worries and concerns have some legitimate grounding. Because you know what, a lot of times they do. A lot of times fears and worries and concerns and anxieties need to be dealt with and confronted. We need to find balance and peace in them, but they often have very legitimate roots. So if your deck is saying that, say it. We didn't really get a card that was hard to interpret into what we were seeing, but which I had in my mind, but that's okay. So you can learn to read the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot system without just getting RWS clones because you're a beginner. You're just going to focus on a different aspect of this. You're going to focus at it from a point of stories. In that vein, I would say Kitchen Table Tarot is also a good book to learn tarot from in that regards, because it focuses on the story of life going on at that moment. And like I said, also Queering the Tarot by Cassandra Snow does that awesomely. And maybe you aren't a marginalized person. If you're reading for others, I still recommend this. Anyways, but you want a book like that dives into what is this talking about versus getting into the symbolism. I'm going to try and find an example of what I'm talking about. So let's read. I pulled open the Tower, so let's read there. More than any other, the Tower is a card that freaks people out when it shows up in a reading, and there's good reason for that. Traditionally, the card indicates destruction and chaos. The Tower brings down an entire life, albeit one we've built on a false foundation. The Tower can and will shake up your whole world. It can bring huge epiphanies and can alter your entire path. And it goes on. But so we're getting into what happens, what do we see, what do we feel when the Tower is going to come up, versus, this is a Marseille book, so it's absolutely about symbolism. But it's going to be a good example because there are tarot books that do this also. So let's just go to the same page, the same card. And even though it's a slightly different system, the Tower is going to work in this sense, actually. A tower is a masculine symbol of power and domination. When it's hit by lightning, it becomes a symbol of it does talk like that, but this book usually gets into here we are. Some authors see the card as referring to the Tower of Babel, whose builders were punished for their vain attempt to reach heaven. The three windows, the crown on the top, and the lightning may refer to the story of St. Barbara, who was a pagan king's daughter. To prevent her from converting to Christianity, her father locked her in a tower which had two windows. Determined to convert, Barbara carved open a third window as a symbol of the Holy Trinity. Her angry father had her executed, and by then a lightning bolt struck him dead. So, do we need all of those symbols? You don't. And a lot of times it gets really more specifically, this color means this, and various tarot books do get into that, but you can learn to broaden and get a big picture without all of that, especially if you get into things like the numbers and the elements, and maybe you want to bring into it some astrology. So that is, yes, you can learn RWS without an RWS clone.